Welcome to Survey Matters with Duncan-Parnell. My name is Mark White, and I'm the Training and Support Manager for DP. It's the end of 2025, and today I want to talk to you guys about something new that's coming out in 2026, and that's the State Plane Coordinate System of 2022. But first, be sure to like and subscribe. So it may sound a little funny that the State Plane Coordinate System of 2022 is coming out in 2026, but there's always delays with things like this. Pretty ambitious project. This is like a major change for the United States and our coordinate system. So let's talk a little bit about what is changing here. So unless you've been living in Iraq here in the States, you know that our national datum is going to change. And like I said, originally that was slated for 2022, but as things progressed, it's taking a little bit longer to get out. Feel pretty comfortable saying it's coming out in 2026, as this time last year, the end of 2024, the alpha version was coming out of this, and then summer of 2025, the beta version actually came out. And you know what comes next after the beta? We get the real thing. And this is the National Geodetic Survey updating our National Spatial Reference System with a whole new reference frame, or multiple reference frames actually, in a new state plane coordinate system. Now look, I'm a licensed surveyor here in North Carolina. I'm a trainer for a distributor, but I am not a geodesist. I'll be the first one to tell you that. So I will leave a link below to the National Geodetic Survey's page on these updates. So if you want to hear presentations from some actual geodesists that came up with this, you can. But my goal here is just to let you guys know, hey, what's coming, because we're getting a lot of questions as a dealer about this. Let you guys know what's coming, a little bit about what's going to change, and then show you how Trimble is already ready for this change. All right. So why do we need to change? That's a question I get from our customers a lot. And this is straight from the NGS website. Adopting the modernized NSRS, or National Spatial Reference System, is critical as it finally aligns the NSRS with both international standards as well as aligning with the Global Navigation Satellite System, which naturally orbit about and provide positions relative to the center of the Earth. So this is a big deal, all right, because the datum that we have now and that we've had for a long time, NAD83, is misaligned from the Earth center by about 2.2 meters, all right? And our vertical datum, or NAVD88, is both biased by about a half meter, and it's tilted by about 1 meter from coast to coast relative to the best global geoid models available today, all right? So, they did their best back in the late 70s, early 80s, when they came out with NAD83 to fit the Earth. But as we've flown satellites around the world for the last 40 plus years, we've discovered that while we were close, we were actually 2.2 meters off. Now, a lot of reference frames in the world have already adjusted for this. The US has not. We've just continually tweaked our North American datum of 1983, but it is misaligned by about 2.2 meters from what internationally is the standard and from what the GPS satellites out there are telling us, right? So this is going to help update that. So new terrestrial reference frames, like I said, this is kind of a whole new do-over, right? New terrestrial reference frames of 2022 for North America, which will be NATRF 2022, the Pacific, or PATRF 2022, the Caribbean, CATRF 2022, and the Mariana Plate, MATRF 2022. So the acronyms are a little bit long, a little bit harder to say. But these four geodetic reference frames are going to replace NAD83. And they're going to serve as a foundational component going forward for the modernized NSRS, providing us with precise definitions for geodetic latitude, longitude, and ellipsoid heights. So all of these new terrestrial reference frames are defined by the transformations from the International Terrestrial Frame of 2020, or ITRF. So that's the international standards. Like I said, now we're going to be aligned here in the United States with the rest of the world in ITRF 2020. And it did this by using Euler pole parameters that model tectonic plate rotation. All right, so it's also taken into account velocity or movement. And like I said, there's a lot more on that kind of stuff on the NGS website. All right, so also vertically, another big change coming. So the North American Pacific Geopotential Datum of 2022, or NAPGD 2022. Again, a lot of big words in this, right? But NAVD 88, when we look at our current vertical datum, it was leveled across the country from one benchmark that was up in Canada. We ran levels all over the United States. NAPGD 2022 is based on a geoid model instead of levels. And the geoid model, if you don't know, is just a surface that closely approximates mean sea level. And it was developed through GravD, or the gravity for the redefinition of the American vertical datum. So NGS actually flew missions that collected data showing the gravity differences, all across the American territory. So this went on all through the teens, using instruments that were mounted in airplanes, flying the entire American territories, gathering gravity data on the differences in gravity all across the territories. And they used this to build a geoid model based on gravity there. So instead of leveling now, that's a big word, another big word. Orthometric elevations, or ground elevations, are measured via GNSS in combination with the new geoid model. Okay, so big difference for us here in the States. NAVD 88, based totally on levels. The North American Pacific Geopotential Datum of 2022, based on gravity data that's been collected, created a geoid model, and now we're going to determine our elevations by measuring ellipsoid heights with GNSS, applying that geoid model to get our orthometric heights. It's a big change there vertically as well. All right, another thing that's changing, for a lot of us anyway, is the foot definition. So a majority of states are currently U.S. survey foot states. I'm here in North Carolina. We're a survey foot state. Some states have already started changing, but the new datum is going to be based on the international foot and not the U.S. survey foot. So the U.S. survey foot is 1,200 divided by 3937, and you see how it breaks down into meters right there, right? The international foot is 1 foot equals 0.0348 meters exactly. So if you look at those two numbers there in the metric, you can see it's a little bit different. Now it's only 2 parts per million, but that adds up when we're using big numbers like state plane coordinates, right? That moves it from the left side of the decimal, from the right side of the decimal to the left side of the decimal. And so we get feet of difference there. So a majority of the states in the United States use the U.S. survey foot with NAD 83, but now with the new datum coming with state plane coordinate system of 2022, everybody's going to be using the international foot. All right, so horizontally, what does this mean for my data? You see here, this is from the NGS website, a shift of up to 0.8 meters in Florida, all the way up to 1.5 meters when I get up to Northern California, Oregon, and Washington up there, okay? So anywhere from 0.8 meters to 1.5 meters there. And then vertical, here you can see on our map here that down in Florida, we got 0 meters all the way up to 1 meter when we get up to Oregon, and a little bit more than 1 meter up in Washington. So like where I am right now, about 0.25 meters. You're seeing about 10 inches, maybe a foot of difference. And most of these are going down if you look, all right? It's 0 in Florida, it's -1 up in Oregon. So the elevations are actually going to be a little bit lower, but they're going to be more accurate, all right? Because our old datum, again, was based on leveling all across the country. It was biased by 0.5 meter, and it had 1 meter of tilt from east to west. So we're making up for that. We're correcting for that, okay? It's taking a lot of that error out. So how can you and I get ready, right, as surveyors? How can we get ready? So again, this is from a document that NGS put out on how to get ready for the new datum. You can return to the field and collect new observations that are based on the new geodetic control, right, that's in the new datum. Now, I can hear a lot of you guys already saying, Mark, I'm not going to go out there and resurvey a job, okay? But that's probably the most accurate way to do it here. The other way would be to readjust. Take your raw data that you have, recompute new coordinates based on geodetic control that's been defined in the new datum. And finally, the third way, probably the most common way, most people will do this, but the least accurate will be to actually transform your data. Taking your finished products that already have coordinates in the old datum and use a transformation software to, again, and this is from the NGS website, estimate coordinates in the new datum. So it's not going to be a perfect one-to-one transformation possibly. There's going to be some estimation there. Again, so these are some of the ways you can get ready. Now, some other ways, most softwares and real-time networks will have an overlap period. So like your field software, your office software will have both NAD83 still available in the software and the State Plane Coordinate System of 2022 with your NATRF 2022 reference frames. They'll have both, probably for an extended period of time, maybe forever, I don't know. But there will be an overlap where you can work in both. Now, what I would say is complete old projects in the old datum once NGS makes that change official, and do your new projects in the new datum, right? Make a line in the sand. Old projects you're going to finish up in what you're working on. New projects you're going to use the new datum going forward there. So site calibrations will also allow you to transform between systems in the field as necessary. I know a lot of guys, since real-time networks run NAD83 currently, a lot of networks or a lot of guys that have to work with, say, the State Plane Coordinate System from 1927, they'll calibrate to those 27 coordinates. So that could be something once your real-time network switches over to State Plane Coordinate System of 2022, you could always calibrate to old NAD83 coordinates if you needed to as well. And most RTNs that I have heard from or talked to have said that they will have a period of time for a switchover where you can get corrections in NAD83 and you can also get corrections in 2022. But, your mileage may vary. You might need to talk to your local network there, okay? Now, one thing I will say is horizontally, you will see in most areas, you're going to see a bigger shift. Like I showed you, the error is about 0.8 meters to 1.5 meters, but you will see a bigger shift because the false northings and false eastings have changed in the new coordinate system definitions so that the 2022 coordinates look vastly different than the 83 coordinates, just to prevent confusion, okay? So you will see, about anywhere from a foot to 1 meter lower elevations, but your coordinates are going to look a lot different because, again, those false eastings and false northings have been updated just so you can tell the difference there, okay? So that's a little bit about what's coming. Now let's take a look at how Trimble is already ready for this change coming up. So we'll take a look at Trimble Access and Trimble Business Center and take a look at the coordinate systems that are already in the software so you guys can take a look at them. Okay, so I've got Trimble Access open here, and this is 2025.20. And so I'll go up to the menu at the top left, tap Job, and just go to New. And under the coordinate system here, we'll take a look at the library. So traditionally, we've used United States NAD83, and then over here under the zone, you can pick whatever zone you want to use, right? But already in the software, the beta version is already included. So you guys can start taking a look at this, playing around with it a little bit if you want to, just to get ready for the change coming next year. Trimble's already included the beta in their software. So if I do the drop down here and scroll down, you'll start seeing, now, this is one thing about this change. There's a whole lot more coordinate systems in your data collector now than there used to be, okay? Because there are a lot more zones in some of the states now, because some zones requested like countywide zones for lower distortion or multiple zones in their state, more zones than they used to have for lower distortion purposes as well. So there's a lot more options in here now. But if I scroll down, you'll see United States NSRS 2022 B1, that's beta 1 version, and then you'll have your state zone here. So like for me in North Carolina, if I click on that, I only get one option. I get North Carolina 3700 there for my zone. But some states are going to have multiple zones. Like if I go down to Texas, there's multiple zones here because, again, a lot of counties requested their own low distortion zones to be computed as part of the new datum there. So just, check it out in your area, see how it looks. Again, it's available in the software now. I'm just going to switch back to North Carolina because that's where I'm from. So I'll click back there, and we only have one zone, so it makes it a little easier. But you'll see the numbers have changed there as well. And you'll see the local datum is now ITRF 2020, right? Global reference datum, ITRF 2020. The geoid model is SGeoid 2022. And again, these are all beta. This is still in the beta form. That will go away when the final version comes out, and Trimble will update their software. But again, this is available for you guys to take a look at now and start checking out to get ready, get familiar with it. You can play around with transforming some of your data to see what it looks like. So that's what it's going to look like in Trimble Access. Let me open up Trimble Business Center. We'll take a look at it as well. Okay, so I've got Trimble Business Center opened up, so I'll go ahead and go to New Project. And I'm going to choose International Foot for this again because the new datum uses International Foot. So I'll choose that, and I'll head up here to my Settings tab, go to the Coordinate System, and click the Change button, and look at Coordinate System and Zone. And again, down here, I've got NAT 83, but if I scroll down a little bit, I'll get all these NSRS zones, right? So I'm going to scroll down again to North Carolina. A lot more zones in here now, but there's North Carolina 3700. Next, and you'll see it automatically goes to the SGeoid 2022 beta 1 there. All right. So I'll go ahead and click Finish there. And you'll see now I'm in United States NSRS 2022 B1 for North Carolina 370001, and it is ITRF, and I've got SGeoid 2022 Beta 1. So guys, like I said, the new coordinate systems are already there in Trimble Access. They're already there in Trimble Business Center. If you have the latest versions there, you can start taking a look at it. You can even transform some of your data in TBC. It may not be completely accurate yet because this is beta, right? And your stuff was probably corrected in NAT 83. So there's going to be a little bit of error in there. But if you want to get a look and feel for what the coordinates are going to look like, how the elevation is going to change some, then yeah, you can set a job up in NAT 83 and then transform it over to NSRS, State Plane Coordinate System of 2022 and see how it's going to affect your data. All right. So, hey, thanks for stopping by. Just wanted to get you guys ready for some of these changes coming out next year. Have a happy new year, and I'll see you on the next one.